Sir Handel and Peter Sam were delighted that Duke was home again. For many years they had thought their old friend had been lost, but when a search party had discovered Duke by accident, he had been rescued and brought to the little railway where Skarloey and Rheneas worked. Once again united, Duke, Sir Handel, and Peter Sam spent their evenings much like they used to on their old railway, talking, telling stories, and laughing. Sir Handel and Peter Sam also did their best when they were together to fill Duke in on all that had happened in the world, while Duke had been tucked away in his shed for all that time. Duke was finding it difficult to make sense of everything.
"I'm sorry, explain that again, youngster,"
Duke asked one morning.
All drivers and firemen can contact the signal boxes and stations by radio now, Grandpuff.
Peter Sam smiled.
"And you said radio is waves?"
"Radio waves, Grandpuff. They fly through the air and transmit information from one place to another."
"Whatever happened to the word of mouth?" "Well, radio is more efficient than the word of mouth,"
Peter Sam continued.
"Interesting. Very interesting,"
Grandpa sighed. Sir Handel and Peter Sam knew that this is what Duke had said when he didn't approve of something. They tried not to smile.
"What other new contraptions do they have nowadays?"
asked Duke.
"All sorts of things. They even have diesels working on the railway now."
"Diesels? What are those?"
Duke snarled. He didn't like the sound of the word diesel. Sir Handel and Peter Sam sniggered.
"They have fancy new engines, Grandpuff."
"They're like us, but they don't run on coal and water."
"What else is there to run on?"
"Petrol."
"What's petrol?"
Not being able to contain their laughter at Duke's relative naivety any longer, the two proceeded to gruffle deeply, which made Duke very cross.
"You impudent scallywags!"
"We're sorry, Grandpuff," said Sir Handel. "We didn't realize it had been that long since you've been away."
"We'll explain more later," Peter Sam added.
"We'll see you tonight."
The two engines scampered away to fetch their trains for the morning, and Duke was left feeling very confused.
"How can an engine be an engine and not use coal?"
Duke said to himself. Duke had only been at his new home a few days and hadn't read Rusty or any of the mainline diesels yet, so he didn't know what to think about diesels at all. Later that day, Duke pulled a small goods train down the line to the station, which met the main line. He usually met Thomas or Gordon here to exchange greetings, but today there was an engine he had never met. The engine didn't look like any engine Duke had ever seen. The engine was tall, green, and box-shaped. Of course, we know this to be our friend Boko, but Duke hadn't met a diesel before. "Hello," Boko boomed. Duke jumped.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
"I'm Boko."
"Are you, diesel?"
Duke said slowly as the hum of Boko's engine echoed across the platform. Boko's brow forward. He had never been asked this question before.
Yes, I am. Why do you ask?" Just curious. Say, do you use coal and water?" No, I run on petrol. If you put water in my tanks, my engine won't run." "Your engine?"
Boko smiled.
"You haven't met diesels, have you?" "No, I can't say that I have. Why are you here? I mean to say, why are diesels here at all?"
"They say we're stronger and more efficient," Boko smiled.
"Is that so?" Duke bellowed. "Interesting. Very interesting."
Boko was only joking, but Duke didn't realize this. The guard's whistle blew, and Duke left feeling very hot in the boiler.
"Stronger indeed. More efficient indeed. We'll see about that."
Duke fumed the whole way to the top station, thinking of how he could prove Boko wrong. He looked around and saw a long train of slate wagons ready to be taken down the line. He suddenly had an idea.
"I'll take those wagons,"
Duke said to the station master, who looked puzzled. The station master knew that the wagons were for Skarloey and Sir Handel, and he wasn't certain that Duke could pull them alone. But Duke was insistent. The station master paged Skarloey and Sir Handel's drivers, who shared his concern, but were also very busy and appreciated Duke's help. So, given the go-ahead, Duke coupled up to the wagons and pulled them smoothly out of the yard and up the line.
This will show that old Diesel.
Duke was soon underway and found it easy to pull the long train.
We're going well, we're going well.
What Duke didn't know was that the line sloped down for the first stretch. The weight of the wagons behind him made it seem easier. Soon the track leveled off, and it seemed to Duke like the train was getting heavier.
Phew, he said. Not long now.
In the approach to the junction, the line begins to rise sharply, before descending again. The engines know to accelerate here, but Duke was still learning the route, and in his desire to prove his point, he forgot.
As he steamed up the hill, the weight of the slate wagons pulled hard against Duke's rear coupling. A moment later, there was a loud snap as the coupling broke. The wagons began to roll backwards down the hill, but soon came to a standstill as the guard in the van applied the brakes.
I already figured this would happen, called the guard as Duke backed down onto the wagons. This is too long for a train for one engine to pull. We'll radio for Rusty to help.
Good. The two of us will show that Diesel what for.
Duke smiled. Rusty, started his driver, is a diesel.
What?
Duke soon realized that his driver was right. The little orange diesel buffered up to Duke's van to push from behind. He gave a short toot on his horn.
I'm ready when you are.
Duke grumbled a reply, and soon the two were climbing the hill. With Rusty pushing from behind, Duke realized how much easier the train was to pull. Soon they had crossed the hill and were coasting down the other side of the station. Duke was impressed.
You really kept those trucks steady, youngster.
Duke smiled as Rusty ran around.
I would never been able to get up that hill if it was not for you.
Rusty smiled. We have to help each other. Otherwise, what's the use of having more than one engine? We all have our strengths.
I'll say, Duke agreed. You diesels aren't so bad after all.
That evening, Peter, Sam, and Handel returned to the sheds howling with laughter. They had heard the whole story of how Duke, the proud engine, had bitten off more than he could chew and gotten stuck on the hill. In good humor, Duke took full responsibility and admitted that he was wrong.
I'm old and set in my ways, but now I know how useful diesels can be.
The three heard a distant horn and the roar of an engine as Boko flew by with an evening passenger train. Duke whistled at return and looked forward to working with diesels in the future.